Hey everyone, Michael Pickens here, Vice Chair of We the People Washington. Today I am by myself. I am all alone, and I am going to be talking to you about freedom and corruption and what we're dealing with here in Washington State. There is a lot of new information coming out that Democrats have been funding these nonprofit organizations, and then those nonprofit organizations turn around and donate to their campaigns, right? So it's basically collusion and corruption on a mass scale. And it's done through good means or good intent, right? Because they say, we need childcare in Washington State. We need healthcare in Washington State. We need to help the homeless in Washington State. We need, X, Y, Z. And then they start putting money towards those projects, right? And then they get their friends to apply for those grants. So then those grants basically go to their friends and these new organizations that are created around the funding, right? So once these new organizations are created around the funding, they get the funding, and then what they do is turn around and donate to the same politicians that created the funding in the first place. And it's basically corruption, right? Now, at the same time, being devil's advocate for my for my own good, um, yeah, childcare, is childcare good? Yeah, absolutely, right? But when you have organizations being created just to funnel money through that aren't actually providing childcare services, that's when there's a problem, right? And we have to be vigilant over how our tax money is spent, because right now, Washington State is taxing us at the highest level we've ever been taxed before, right? There was a 10% tax increase across the board here in Washington State last year. So they're taxing us at the highest level, right? They are spending the most money they've ever spent before. So what are we to do? It's tough, right? It's like they're stealing more money from us, they're spending more money, and that money a lot of times is ending up in, the hands of businesses and business owners that are donors to these people who also pass these laws and pass these tax increases. So it's very difficult. Um, you know, History shows a consistent pattern, right? So power attracts those who want control, status, and access to the resources that they didn't earn. And our government has grown beyond what government should be, right? I think that government should protect life, liberty, property, right? It should be the gatekeeper, so we don't, get trounced upon, or we don't get hurt by our neighbors, right? That's what laws should be about. It should be about protecting us. Okay. And when laws stop being shields to protect us and they start becoming weapons, like we're seeing, right, with permits and fees and fines and licensing and all kinds of stuff, and the laws have basically become tools for redistributing power and wealth through force. The laws stop becoming shields and they become weapons used to reward the allies of the people in power, right? Used to punish dissenters, the people like us who are saying something, and entrench those who are already in charge. And that's the definition of corruption in my mind, right? So corruption rarely announces itself as corruption. Okay. It hides behind good intentions. And that's what we see with a lot of these laws that have been put forward, like, oh, childcare. Yes, we want kids to be taken care of. We want kids to be fed, right? Those are good intentions. We want them to be safe. Like, these are all things that are noble causes, right? And uh, they hide behind the public good, right? These grand ideas of safety and taking care of the most vulnerable, which, who could be against that, right? And that's why they get these pushed through. But then when you look at who's getting paid, and it's the friends of the people who are putting these laws forward, and it's not just, you know, meager salaries. Like you look at some of these positions, these CEO positions in these nonprofits, and these people are pulling in $500,000 a year. Like this isn't, you know, that's not um fair, I guess. I don't know. Like I hope, if you're watching this right now, please comment, right? Because we're just trying to figure this out too. Because we see the situation going on, and we're like, okay, there's obviously corruption. It's happening right now, right? And we don't know exactly what to do, but there needs to be some type of accountability, right? Behind the good intention. So if they're going to be putting forward all kinds of money that are going into these organizations that are not being looked at all, right? You know, we need to figure out how we can, I don't know, keep track of it. And I think the direct democracy model that we, the people, are putting forward, where we get to decide, like, you know, who, not who, but every line item, right? Because right now we are a representative democracy, and we're voting on people to get into power. Once they're in power, then they have the next 2 years or 4 years to do whatever it is they want, and there's really no checks and balances. And that's where the direct democracy model comes in play, because if we can get some candidates elected to office who are willing to allow the people to decide to vote on every single line item in the budget, we would have way more control. We would have not just way more control, but we'd be able to take a look and see, like, okay, here's this line item for child care centers in Washington State, and how many millions or billions of dollars are going to it, right? We don't know. It's not being put forward because right now the giant budget, is being passed by the governor, by the legislature, right? We don't have a say in it. So Tony says we have to have people brave enough to get involved and expose this stuff. Yes, that's what we're doing, Tony. Um, Tony, if you don't know, she is the chair of We the People. She's supposed to be on this live stream, but it's just me. She said expose it by releasing budgets and showing everyone where the money is going. Absolutely. Yeah. So the problem with the budgets that are being released, and you can see this at the local level. If you go to your local city council, if you go to your local county website, they'll have a very basic overview budget. Like they're spending $1 million here, a couple $1 million there. Like it's just basic. And you can't see where the money is actually going, and they do that on purpose. They don't want you to see which company is getting paid, which nonprofit is getting paid, who is getting paid from all of this, and they hide it. And we have to be the ones that go out there and say, okay, well, let's look at the line item budget. And I think it should be law that every county and city and state should be releasing line item budgets so we can see exactly what's going on. You have to do a Freedom of Information Act request just to see what the elected officials are spending on their government credit cards, right? And it's crazy that they have government credit cards, but they do. And there's events that they go to, and they spend money, and they're, buying drinks and dinners and all kinds of stuff on the taxpayer's dime, which is crazy. To me, that's crazy. And we have to be the ones that are asking the questions and going out there and, bringing these issues up, because unless we do it, obviously the Democrats and Republicans, they aren't going to do it, right? Because they're part of the same corrupt system. Even though in Washington State, the Republicans are kind of the minority political party, right? They are the minority political party. It's a Democrat controlled state legislature and Senate and governorship, right? However, it doesn't seem like they're interested in opening up the same dialogue around corruption as we are, because they also are getting paid off by the system. So it's very interesting. Um, Lawrence says if it's public money, it must be publicly visible, published real time, itemized government spending down to agency contracts and recipients, require all government contracts and subsidies to be searchable and public. Black budgets, except for the narrowest national defense needs, taxation is coercive and libertarian theory. So transparency is the minimum moral obligation. Yeah, so transparency is the minimum moral obligation that our government should be required to operate under, right? The government should be required, to publish its books and its budgets down to the line item. Whereas, they're not doing that. You can't find it. You can't find it state level, county level, the city level. You just can't find the line item budgets. You can find a basic, overview budget where they're going to put, a couple $1,000,000 here is going to public safety, a couple $1,000,000 here. Well, it's more than a couple million. Um, I looked at it here in Pacific County, and you can't tell where the money's going, right? You can't tell who's getting paid. And they do that for a reason, to hide the payments. So, anyways, what we're doing here in Washington State is advancing the We the People Party. We're looking for candidates to run for office. We've got Glenn Kelly running for governor here. We're going to be recruiting candidates for all executive positions and down ballot across the state for 2026 this year and 2027, 2028. So if you're interested in running for office, please reach out to us. We've been running ads on Facebook. I think we're getting close to 800 followers, which, 6 months ago, we didn't have any, right? We didn't have any followers. So where we're at now is a huge growth compared to where we were before, and we're seeing more and more people coming on board, joining our organization, becoming members. Membership is $25. You can go to our website, wtpwa.com, and you can join. So when I talk about government corruption, it isn't just about bribery or scandals. It's structural, right? It happens when an institution that operates by force grows large enough to escape consent, right? And consent is what we believe that society should be based on, right? Consent of the governed, consent of the individual, right? And the antidote, the solution to this is not better rulers, but less power to rule, right? So clear boundaries, decentralization, transparency, which is huge. If we can see where the money's going, then we know exactly who's getting paid, right? And then a cultural commitment to personal responsibility. So the more that we speak up, not just on these live streams, but locally at our city council and county commissioner meetings, we're going to be able to demand the transparency that's needed to bring accountability and stop the corruption. So please join us if you can. I just donated, to the We the People Party to make sure that our $5 a day continues to go out there to get our ideas out there. If you can donate right now, please do. WTPWA.com. That is my rant for today. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your help. If you could join us, even if you're not in Washington State, reach out to anyone in the We the People Party in the state that you're at and join us. So Lawrence says, real change doesn't come from voting harder, it comes from showing up. Exactly. We, the people, exist to return power to where it belongs to individuals, families, local communities, not bureaucrats or special interests. That's right. Transparency, accountability, and liberty aren't slogans to we, the people. They're non negotiable. We want lower taxes, honest government, and leaders who actually respect your freedom. Join us. If you're willing to step up, run for office. You don't need to be a career politician. Agreed, Lawrence. Thank you so much for your input. And thank you all for joining us so far. 2026 is going to be the breakout year for us. We were doing a lot of building this last year, the last 6 months, and Tony Kelly, our state chairwoman, she is amazing. She has put in a ton of work to building this organization. And she recruited me. She brought me on board, and obviously her husband Glenn, she recruited him running for governor. So we've got some really good people on the team, and look forward to working with all of you. So thank you all very much, and hope you had a wonderful 2025. Look forward to all the progress in 2026. Thanks so much.